Please. Hey, good morning, everybody. We're starting a little bit late today, but I brought my son into work with me kind of last minute. And so there was an extra added rush to getting him out the door, getting him set up here with his class, and, add that on top of the fact that I'm always late anyway. And there you go. So on our way out the door, I realize as we're driving on the road, I say, "Oh my gosh, I forgot my wedding ring." And Wyatt goes, "Don't worry, Dad, I'll defend you." so, so Wyatt's set up right here in the back. He's here at work with me right now. We were just talking about the I Love Him at Kingdom project with his teacher, Mrs. Perez. Wyatt and his sister volunteered to be involved in this. That's the mayor of Hemet. So that was something that we did that Christian does every Saturday from 9 to 12. So Wyatt just asked me as we're rolling into the office, he says, "Hey, Dad, when do we get to go help the homeless again?" I was like, that kid. The first time that we did that, the first time that I did this with my kids, Wyatt says to me, he says, "Dad, I've been waiting to do this my whole life." So that's people talk to me a lot of times about branding, and they talk to me about, work-life balance, and I tell them there's no such thing. It's all connected, right? So it's all connected. Go out there and do good things. Everything else will come, right? Start with the give. Everything else will come. Whew, what a day, what a day, what a day. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to touch on a couple of different things that two of which happen after the escrow stops, right? So the rentbacks. A rentback is something that, a seller sells their house and then they end up renting it back from the buyer. A carryback is when a seller is selling a piece of land or a home, and maybe it can't qualify for conventional financing, and so they hold a piece of it. Like they decide, oh, hey, listen, if you put 10% down, then I'll carry the other 90%. We'll talk about that here in a minute. And then we'll talk about pest and termite. We'll probably do it in that order. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get structured here for today. To take this down, your homework is the homework from yesterday and today. So chapters 29 through 36, if you decide that you want to follow along with that, which are going to be pages 273 to pages 351. And then, of course, Amy's got Commission Boot Camp going on today as well. We have our grand opening happening next week, and I've been booking. I'm telling you, I'm spending 100% of my money on food. 100% of the money on food. I don't think you go wrong with spending money on food. But anyway, that's going to be March 18th, 9 o'clock. Very excited, or 11 o'clock. Very excited about that. Let's go ahead and let's get into it, shall we? Oh, that's a very handsome voice. Oh, who's these? Okay, all right, let's go ahead and let's get into it. I'm going to pull up our fancy little asterisk so that everybody knows what it is that we're talking about when we're talking about it. And this cutting edge technology. We're going to start with Rentbacks. Okay. And in fact, what we're going to do is we're going to move over to the whiteboard. We're going to do the stalker light. I'm working on this wall right now. I'm laying these bricks individually. So it's these are panels right here, which is kind of cool, right? But the panels are a little bit clunky. So what we're doing is we're and I feel like just showing you the after, right? But this is kind of a fun thing that we're doing where we're like filling this in with the cement afterwards. Just taking a lot of time. It's taking a lot of time. But I found this really cool way to blend paint by doing it at a 45-degree angle with this stuff. Let me go ahead. Anyway, I can show you guys the video if you want, or send you the link. Let me go ahead and pull this light over here. Okay, I'm back. Did you miss me? Okay, good. Not too much. All right, what is a rent back? That's where we're going to start. And in fact, what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and, you know what? I feel like we always roll with blue. Let's try something different. Rentback. We're going to talk about Carrybacks. We're going to talk about Termite and Pest. Ding, ding. All right, let's do the damn thing, shall we? All right. In fact, let's just get rid of this guy. What a bum right now. I'm just like, oh, all right, this is what we're going to do. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants a little bit. Okay, I just got a lot going on. Trying to launch an office here next week. All right, so a rentback is what happens a lot of time, and you're seeing it happen a lot more now that it's a seller's market. People, they will want to close escrow on their house, which gives them the cash that they need in hand to then, purchase another house or to then get ready to move. Like a big part of the reason why some people do this, the rentbacks, is they've got orders. So if somebody is military and they're in a seller's market, it may be worth more money for them to be in a situation to where they can rent their own house back, rent free for 3 months or 4 months or 2 months or whatever, versus getting more money or whatever, because the timeline is often more important than the price, especially for military. And that being said, in a seller's market, you could really have your cake and eat it too in a lot of ways. So what is a rentback? A rentback is you close escrow, and then the seller becomes a tenant, right? And I feel like that's probably a good distinction to start with, right? So a rentback, the seller becomes a tenant. If you were a buyer's agent, this isn't necessarily an ideal situation for you to put your clients in, of course, but it's a really good thing to be able to bring as a negotiating tip if you have VA buyers. So VA buyers are a lot of times, and in fact, this is how I'm winning right now with my VA buyers versus other conventional offers, which may be offering more money. We're offering like a free 60-day rent back, because the first 30 days, 30 to 45 days, you often don't have a mortgage payment anyway, which is very beneficial. But then in addition to that, it's a lot easier to give someone, say a free 15-day stay in your place versus having to cover the difference between the appraised value and the offered value, which is a lot of times $40,000, $15,000, right? So if it's close, a lot of times you could actually win with offering a free 60-day rent back for VA. You can't go over that for VA. You can't offer longer than a 60-day rent back, because with VA you have to occupy. If the buyer has to occupy the house in the first 60 days. So the seller becomes the tenant. Now, if you are, I don't like to put, and I've never put my buyers in a situation where they're actually taking over a pre-existing tenant versus the seller being somebody that, let's say they're moving out of state or whatever, like it being their house. It's difficult to buy a house that somebody, you have no idea what's going on with that tenant. You have no idea what's going on with that tenant. You don't know if that's part of the reason why they're selling the house is because the tenant hasn't paid, rent in 2 years or whatever. And so you don't necessarily want to put yourself, your buyers, into a unwilling tenant occupation situation where they're having to evict somebody who's been in there for a long period of time. And, it's court stuff. And anyway, it's not necessarily something that you want to do. So a rent back, you're renting back the house. Now, part of the rent back is a deposit. So a lot of times, people want to protect their investment. They're renting the house back to somebody for 30 days or 14 days or even a week. They want to make sure that they're not going to trash the place on the way out, right? So they'll hold a deposit. Let's say it's a $5,000 deposit or whatnot, or a $10,000 deposit out of the seller's net in order to make it possible for them to feel comfortable with them leaving. And also, in addition to the deposit, and in fact, that's something that's going to be important to write. Here, let's just do this on a different. So there's going to need you're going to need a deposit, but then you also want to have the rent already paid in advance for the time, right? So what I like to do is if the rent, if you're doing a rent back, and your buyer is like let's say it's for 2 months, right? And you're charging them a per diem, which means, okay, and that's another important term. What is a per diem? So we're gonna run out of place. So you're gonna need to establish a, goodness gracious. You're gonna need to establish a per diem, guys. And what a per diem does is it's like a cost per day. And what your per diem says is this is how much the house is worth per day. And the per diem is often established at what is called the buyer's PITI, which means their principal and interest payments. And then that way you take their monthly payment, you divide it by 30, and then that's the per diem, right? Or you can establish a monthly payment. Like the monthly payment is, $2,500, right? Well, let's say that the monthly payment is $2,500 and the rent back period is 3 months. Then what you're going to want to have held out is the what did I say, $2,500? So $7,500 for the rent back, which is going to be paid automatically to the buyer, who is now the landlord, right? But you're also going to want to have the deposit, which let's say that's $10,000. So like you need to make sure that they have $17,500 in equity that you're going to want to hold back in that situation in order to protect your client's investment. Does that make sense? I feel like that makes sense. Let me know if there's any questions. I want to make sure that's clear. Now I want to get into carrybacks here really quick. Let's go ahead and change the color. Let's go red. Red is very dangerous. I need more colors. I need a more diverse color palette. Orange, I really want to know. Yeah, purple and orange. Yeah, those would be good colors to start with. Okay, all right, so now a carryback is much different than a rent back. A carryback is, what's a simple way to explain a carryback? It's when the seller basically becomes the funder of the home. Like let's say they carry back a portion of the mortgage, right? So, goodness gracious, I look like such a beast when I don't have the light, like really like up in my eyeballs. Hiya, hiya, hiya. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, let's see if that's any better whatsoever. Maybe that's just my face. Maybe I just look like a supervillain all the time. I look a little I don't know. I look a little something. I'm tired, man. I've been in the office late working. I've been up early at Lowe's and programming that app, getting it, well, I should say doing the data entry for the app. So what is a carryback? So let's say a carryback, and a lot of times you see this on land or properties that would not qualify for a loan. Because it's difficult to get a land loan. There are programs out there called the VA Built to Perm, and there is the rehabilitation loan, and all sorts of different things that you could do in order to cash out a seller. Now that being said, there are properties out there that it would just be very difficult to fund. So in situations like that, what will happen is, especially with land. Let's say somebody has, and we'll just do a good round number. They've got a piece of land. It's 20 acres out in freaking Anza or something like that, and they want $200,000 because it's just let's say 100,000 because I want to keep the math even. They want 100,000 for it, right? There's no roads leading to it, which means that maybe there's an easement that's granted to it. It's going to be difficult to fund it, VA, et cetera, and so forth. And so what you end up doing is you say, hey, listen, let's do a seller carryback. And 9 times out of 10, it will say this in the MLS notes at the bottom, whether or not the seller is willing to do a carryback. What that does is a seller carryback, there's a lot of really good beneficial portions to it. Part of that is that if you get a carryback done, it gives you an opportunity to apply for the permits and everything that you need to do in order to get the loan funded, right? In addition, it puts you in a situation where a lot of times the carryback term is 10 years, right? And so that spreads that out pretty thin. And then once you get in a situation to where you're able to occupy the land, you get the permission for putting let's say a mobile on a permanent foundation or building a stick built, then the value of the land appreciates, and then you're able to get a loan and pay the person off, right? So let's say the carryback term is 10% down in 10 years. I feel like I'm like so fat in the face in the morning. Maybe I'm just getting fat. I feel like maybe the angle is really unflattering. Just do this. Do this angle. Okay, everybody. And there we go. Amy's bringing me my platform so I can feel a little bit less fat-faced. Look at that. Now I feel like I'm just like a skinnier supervillain. The dark circles, the Serpa dark circles. There is no escape. We look like supervillains. Okay, so 10% down, 10 years. It's distracting having to look at my fat face. People like tuning out. They're like, that's enough. Listening to how self-conscious you feel about your fat face. Do you know how rough it is to look at your own fat face 2 hours a day? Not eating right. I've been working hard. All right. Anyway, you got to understand that my ideal body is like Jared Leto from Requiem for a Dream. So I'm like that crystal meth body. Like that's where I'm like I want to be so cut that people are like, that dude does meth, but I don't want to have to work for it. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. You know how cut up, like a meth head is. Like, damn, you're ripped. Maybe I'll just go on the meth diet for a little while. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to go on the meth diet. Chill out, everybody. I had like 2 more people tune in. They're like, oh, that's enough. He's talking about going on the meth diet. Somebody on YouTube 6 years from now is watching this and like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I might tune in, listen to this guy talk for a little while longer. This is fun. Okay, holy crap, Serpa, focus. Goodness gracious. Okay, $100,000 down, 10 years, 10% down. So 10% is $10,000, right? And then what they do is they say, hey, listen, we're going to do, 10 years, the loan's, $90,000. We're going to have you pay, X, Y, and Z a month. And then it's going to start ballooning after 2 years or whatever because, they want to be paid out. They want to be paid out. They don't want to be in it forever. They want you to develop the land, get it done, and then that way they can get cash in pocket and move on with their life. Okay, does that make sense what a carryback is, or do I need to explain that anymore? I was like, please don't explain it anymore. That's enough. That makes sense what a carryback is, right? Okay, the carryback is the seller owns this much, right? You only have this much money. A lender will not loan on it. You tell them, I'm going to pay you this much money down. You carry back the other 90% of the loan for 10 years. So over the course of 10 years, I'm going to pay you $90,000. Does that make sense? Yeah. But what will happen is, so over the course of 10 years, I'm going to give you the other 90%. Okay? Now, what will happen is the payment will often kind of go like this, incentivizing you to pay them out because they don't want to be in this forever. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. All right. said to remove all the fat face references and really clean it up. Okay, termite and pest. Okay, termite and pest. I feel like we kind of talked about a lot of this already in other classes, but what you really need is you need that section 1 termite clearance, of course. The benefits of teaching the adult class. All right. Section 1 termite. You know what we're going to do is actually we have 2 things that we're going to do and that we've already talked about doing is having a section 1 termite course and then also having an inspections course so that you really know, and I've already talked to some people about coming in and teaching this to you guys so that it's not me. And in fact, I'm talking to everybody about like these Tuesday through Thursday classes. Like I want to start getting you guys in teaching these a little bit more, getting everybody else a little bit more involved. Anyway, so what you need to do is you need the section 1 clearance, which means that it's going to need to be free of any termite damage that is dry rot, fungus, exposed or damaged, active termite, or just untreated past evidence of termite infestation. This is what you need to have clearance on in order to get a VA loan. So again, like let's say, so not only with land would like a carryback be an option, but like let's say that there's like a dilapidated structure like that's got water and power hooked up to it, but it's a teardown, right? Then somebody will be like, hey, listen, the seller's willing to carry back with a 5% down, with a 10% down, et cetera, and so forth. Okay. There's so much opportunity in this right now. If somebody wants to because there's just not a lot of building happening, and if somebody wanted to get into development, like creating inventory, there's so much money because there's so much land in Awanga, Anza, so much undeveloped land that is like you can't print any more of it. And eventually, what's going to happen is this 79 South is going to connect very comfortably with all of that area, all the way up to the 10. And like, there's just so much land out there right now that's available for sale that like, if I had money, goodness gracious. Anyway, but I'm also not really interested in that path. It's not my path. But for somebody else, there's a lot of money in like, this is what's called creating inventory. So if like you're an investor and you want to do like, man, inventory is super low. Well, what is the answer to low inventory besides like putting in a bunch of offers that nobody's ever going to accept and then giving up and be like, well, I guess people just won't accept VA offers. I guess it's just not the time to buy. Well, the other alternative is, of course, to create inventory, right? So if you see a problem, offer a solution. One of the things that my dad noticed when he moved down here was he says, holy, there's not a lot of inventory being created out here. There's not a lot of development. Builders are not building. And yet there's so much land and there's so much need for it that if you were to start developing, I mean, holy crap, there's so much money in it. Right now, developers and builders are like, the second that they announce the new phase, like they're done. They're like, if somebody had some money to create some inventory, the difficulty right now in California is that there's so much, there's so many, gaps that you have to jump over, so many hurdles to jump over in order to do large scale development. But, there's a lot of money in it. There's a lot of money. And it doesn't have to be large scale either. This could be on a case by case basis, and there's still a lot of money to be made in that, in creating inventory. Of course, the other way to create inventory is to go around door knocking and asking people to sell their homes because you have buyers that are interested, or of buyers, or that their inventory is very low. So creating inventory is all about like, holy crap, there's not enough inventory. Well, I should probably create more of it, right? And so that's where the big opportunity is, and that's where like right now the investment market is back. Like flips are coming back. People are like buying a house, renovating it, making it so that it would pass for conventional financing, and then they'll buy a house for 370,000. They'll put 50,000 into it, and now there's multiple offers over 480, right? So like there are a lot of opportunities in flipping, in developing right now, in creating new inventory by going out and door knocking or cold calling, et cetera, and so forth. Instead of it just like, oh man, I struck out again. Oh man, I struck out again. Getting out ahead of it and creating a long-term plan for development, which we've got some people in this office working on various forms of that. And if you want to come in and talk more about it, or call me and talk more about it, I'm always happy to talk about and brainstorm new ideas for people, whether or not I'm going to financially benefit from it or not, right? Okay, that's that, really. I mean, like Section 2 termite is like, this is like suggested preventative work. So Section 1 is this. I feel like if I go any lower, I'm going to lose it. Section 2 is preventative. Preventative. Okay. Beep, beep. Okay. Okay, so, all right. That's about it. I've got about a bazillion things I need to do. I've got to finish this ugly wall right here. No, I'm just kidding. It's on its way to becoming something beautiful, but right now it is not grand opening worthy. Yep. Hey, listen, we've got tickets on sale right now for our stand-up comedy event. Stop playing around. All two of you that are watching right now. All right, everybody, any questions? I'm going to check the Zoom chat really quick. Any questions? Christy. All right, let's see here. More. Oh, there are people in the chat that are talking. The wall is going to be amazing. Thank you, Christy. You are not fat. Yes. I've got a whole bunch of just like extra cheek. Anyway, I feel fat. I feel like right here. The whole time I'm looking at myself, I'm like, God. Like, I understand why people are always like, shoot it higher. Put on the filters. You can't just post it like that. Put on the filters. Put it higher. Next thing you know, like people barely look human. They just like look like they're dolls. Anyway, all right. Now we're way off in the woods. Everybody have a great rest of your day. I'm going to get to work on this wall and the 1,017 other things that I have to do today. Peace and chicken grease, players.